What's going on, everybody? So today is October the 8th, and it is Tuesday, the day before FOMC. I wanted to share this live trading review with you today. It's basically the recording of my trading from this morning, my live trading that I did. There's some gems in this video. There's some golden nuggets. You don't want to miss it. I explained in the beginning my framework for the morning, why I thought price was going long. And then around the 20-minute mark, I really dig into the wick reading. I get into some pretty specific details. You don't want to miss it around the 20-minute mark. And then I go into, towards the end, my trade itself. And man, it was nice. It was nice. So take a look at this video, watch it. Like I said, the beginning is the framework. Around the 20-minute mark, I start talking about reading the wicks. I start talking about how we're taking retail traders' money by we're stop hunting. We're trading with smart money here, all right? So take a look, check that out, and I hope you get some golden nuggets out of this. Have a great. All right, so there's no news today. And we have huge news tomorrow afternoon with the FOMC. So basically, I'm just prepared to not take a trade. So now basically I'm looking at, so these gaps are obvious. This big gap here, that stands out to me right away. It's the 15-minute chart. We never closed the gap though yesterday. So yesterday we had an opening range gap. It sold off overnight. And then had an opening range gap there. It never closed it. And then we had a new week opening gap up here as well. So price never went up there. Then this one stands out to me here. So just looking at this and knowing that from yesterday, because we still have a nice buy side liquidity sitting up here. This was all trend line liquidity yesterday. We have a high here, and then up here for an ultimate. So each one of these highs right here, here, these are all going to be minor buy side liquidity levels. And then this up here is going to be like an ultimate liquidity level if it makes it up there. But what I'm kind of thinking, just already quick analysis, is price could dig down into this area at the open, and then we can see it try to push up. So I'd be wanting to see, like right now, this is going to be a sell side liquidity right here, like a minor sell side liquidity. Right here, these lows, and then digging into this 15-minute gap. It may come down into this area, and I'm thinking it pushes in here, does a nice little liquidity sweep, and then runs up. But if it does keep going down, then I'll wait to see what it does into this gap. And then this is an ultimate sell side liquidity, which is actually London's low. So I'm going to remove London low and mark it as sell side. Slash London low. There we go. So that's kind of my analysis so far. The daily chart's not really saying much. There's still a big, huge weekly fair value gap up there. The 4 hour is showing this big potential gap we're rebalancing this gap, or we did. Here's major sell side liquidity down here. I don't think we get down there yet, but we'll see. So that's what I'm kind of looking for right now. And then here at the open, we do have this gap here. So we got to see what happens right there. It might not even need to take the sell side. It might just need to come right into this internal range liquidity, because this is fresh. This is pretty fresh gap right here. So we need to see, does it invert this gap and head down here, take the sell side, or does this hold up and then we go higher? Got a lot of trend line liquidity. You got the opening gaps up there. So now let's see if we have an opening range gap for today. Yeah, we got a nice big opening. So see, this would make sense why we'd retrace right in this area, because you'll see right now the middle of this opening range gap will probably be right where I'm saying that it could pull down into. Actually, let me go to the 1 minute. So we got the open. It opened up there. Opening range gap. And then if I measure out the middle. Hold on. That's at 057.75. So yeah, so now that middle is the high of that 15-minute gap. So it could overshoot it a little bit, but we'll see. All we really need is for it to just come down, sweep this right in this area, hit this, tap this opening range gap middle, sweep this sell side right here, and then look for a long. It's kind of what I'm looking at. And that would actually work perfect with the overall 15-minute bias here, because like I said, so much trend line liquidity here, and then when this high, this, and then ultimately make its way up there. So the key is right now waiting to see what happens in this gap, and it could wick down here, take this, and then come back up and still close above this one. So here's our first presented fair value gap. So now, like, having the patience of, even though, so we did dig into this 15-minute gap, and immediately, so there's a gap right here too. You see that? Yeah. Right there. Hit the middle of it. Right in there. It's taken off. So I am expecting price could run all the way up, but first, the key is watching this first presented fair value gap. See, now we're hitting a high from 3 days ago. So that's the other thing too. I marked yesterday's high and low, the day before that, which is 2 days ago, and then the day before that, which is 3 days. So I marked 3 days back. Yeah, just to have some more key levels. And so I prefer price to come down here and tap this opening range gap, the middle of it here, and take this sell side liquidity before we run up. So I'm talking kind of fast because I'm trying to like get all this out before something happens. But so what I want to see is when price comes down into this first presented fair value gap, I'm not taking this as a trade. I wait to see how price reacts here. If price stays above the upper portion of this, then basically I'll look for another displacement up with another gap and take that one. And I won't take this one as a trade. This is more of like seeing what happens. Down and inverts it, then I want to see, does it stay in the lower half and continue down? So that's kind of like a watching gap. So see, it's staying at for the moment, but I really prefer not. I really prefer this to run sell side first. I think we're gonna continue up today. All right, so this is the point in the video. I'm going to speed it up some because as you can see here, I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen in this first presented fair value gap. Is it going to continue trading below it? Is it going to continue trading up? So fast forwarding, and then let's jump right back over to the video. So you see how this is actually a good sign that we're not going to go down. So we dropped down, hit this 15-minute gap again, immediately inverted this gap, and might be leaving a new gap right here in this upper portion. So I might look at this for a long, potentially. If we get this gap, then I wouldn't, and it comes down into this gap, I wouldn't enter immediately. I want to see how price reacts when it comes right back into this area. All right, here's another quick skip ahead just because I want to see how price reacts in this fair value gap. All right, so I want to see how price reacts in here. I'm not entering anything yet. That's why I don't enter right away. So I want to see how price reacts in here. It's holding. The body did close on the lower portion of this inversion, but it closed in the upper part of the first presented gap. Still not going long right now. I want it to prove to me that we're going to go up. And I'm okay with price running away without me because I can always find something else later. Like right now, it is too it's not showing yet really what it wants to do. Like it's doing what it should be doing, but it's not quite showing me exactly because it's overshooting a little bit. Like this right here, I wanted the bodies to close in the upper portion of this yellow inversion, and I didn't want really it to rebalance this fair value gap completely the way it did. We need a draw on liquidity first. So I'm not going long yet until it really is convincing that we're going to go long. Right now, I'm not convinced, even though it's kind of doing what it should be doing. But now if it runs out sell side liquidity, that's a draw on liquidity. Then that'll be doing exactly what it should be doing. And then I can look for a long. So these other gaps right now are not going to matter, so I'm getting rid of them. I still just want to watch this first presented fair value gap. See, now we rebalanced. Well, we had already rebalanced this 15-minute gap, but again, ran right down to the bottom of it here. Look at the bodies. The bodies tell the story. We have yet to have a body close underneath, or by much anyways, the first presented fair value gap. And we're wicking down, wicking down, wicking down. So right now I want to watch this wick right here. The midpoint of this wick, can the body close below that? If so, we're probably going to go down to sell side. All right, another quick fast forward here. I was just being really patient while I was trading live, waiting to show a willingness to continue up or trade below the consequent encroachment of this wick. So let's see what happens. All right, so we are showing a willingness to go up. Here we go. Now we're getting some. I want to see some displacement. I mean, I like what I'm seeing here. It's just not great, but the body's closed, did not close below the first presented fair value gap. So I really want to see some displacement up. I don't want to see it just poke through, because a daily high is also considered a liquidity pool, because people will put stops and all that above daily levels as well. So that's also why I mark those, because these like retail traders, they look at certain levels as key levels. So if they look at it as a key level, all of ICT, what he preaches is doing opposite of retail, because you want to take their money. So if people look at this as support or no resistance, they're like, oh, they put stops up here, and then that's a liquidity pool. So price will pop up. They're like, oh crap, price is going up, and we're gonna take their money. So we might get a gap right here. Want to see if we get. So the key here now is price is doing what it should be doing. I want to see what happens in this gap right here. This is an old opening range gap low, because I don't want it to just sweep this daily high and just come right back down. Okay, so now this might be a breakaway gap, because we just got another one there. Price should not come back below these, but I'm not going to enter immediately, because again, I want to see how price reacts. So what could happen is it's running for that upside, and then later come down and take this sell side we created here, and then the sell side down here that I had marked. Because the key is, even though it didn't run out the sell side, we accumulated a lot here, and we have internal range liquidity in this 15-minute gap. So that's a draw on liquidity right here, even though it's not sell side liquidity. Get rid of this. So right now, I'm just going to wait until price comes back down into these. If you look on the 15-minute, all this trend line liquidity right here, and then that high right there is where I'd be aiming for. All right, we're going to fast forward this section here as well, because at this point, what I'm doing, since price is just continuing to keep going long, I'm trying to see, where is it drawing to? Where could it be going? Is there buy side liquidity, imbalances, inefficiencies? Where is it going? That's what I'm looking for. So the thing is, though, if it keeps going up, if it takes this area, it's more than likely going to take this high. Then it's more than likely just going to go ahead and shoot all the way up and take all the buy side liquidity. But we know price doesn't just go up forever. So it may run up, hit some of this area, and then like if we get a 15-minute gap, say right here, I'd be looking for price to shoot up, pull back, hit the gap, and go, and keep doing that. So how many more minutes? We still have 11 minutes before this gap is actually formed. So I'm going to remove it for now. And it could be just taking this buy side liquidity before it comes back down. So we'll see. We just got to wait. All right, we're going to speed this part up because we have a little bit of waiting to do. How's price going to react inside this 1 minute fair value gap? Is it going to close and respect the upper portion, the upper half? Is it going to invert it? What's it going to do? That's what we're waiting for. Let's see. So with the way we pulled back and created this swing right here, and with all these wicking up here, I don't believe we're just going to displace down. I think before that happens, we'll probably wick up and take out everything up here before it just displaces down. if it displaces down. So we have this high, and I bet you if I measure this high, price will stay around the midpoint of that wick. There you go. There's the midpoint of it, that purple line. Hit it, the midpoint, dropped, broke the midpoint a little bit, dropped, hit the lower quadrants, drop. So I would not be surprised if we see one pop up through, because that 15-minute gap's about to form. So if we see one pop up through here, take out some stops, and then drop. We got 30 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this 15-minute gap because it's not going to not be there. It's our first 15-minute gap of the day after the open. So this one has been key to me lately that I've been kind of discovering on my own is the first 15-minute gap of the day. Does it trade back into it and go long, or does it invert it? I've noticed that a lot. We'll show you where price is going for the rest of your trading session. So let's see what happens here. Doesn't mean it has to pop up. So that's the thing too. Like sometimes I'll say stuff like that, like, "Oh, I bet it does this," but it doesn't mean it has to happen for me to do anything. Because if we get some major displacement down, then that's going to be something else. But at this point, because we have this 15-minute gap now, no matter what, if we get a short, anywhere around this area, I'm not going to take it because I don't want to take a short right into a brand new 15-minute gap. I want to wait and see, does it really show that it wants to go and invert this big gap? If not, I'm waiting to actually come down into this gap and go back long. You see how this bar took this swing low and immediately rebalanced it up. So it's not leaving any gap. And that might actually happen all the way down to this 15-minute gap. And if that happens, then I'd be looking for a major displacement and shoot up and take these highs and run out that buy side up there. So it's kind of a signal of, even though it's coming down, it's not showing the willingness to really run down. It's just like pulling down, like pulling back. Like if you have a rubber band and you're pulling it, and then once it gets in this area, you let it go and it just choop. This right here would be an order block, this bar. So for now, I want to see what happens in the entire thing. An order block for a long to go up. So I want to see when price gets here, does it respect the midpoint of the bodies? Of the body here? Does it respect the wicks? Like that's what I'm always looking for. Does it respect the wick first? Does it take the halfway point of the wick? If so, what does it do in the body? Does it take the halfway point of the body? Does it go to the lower portion of this wick? Right here, if I measure that, what happens in this order block? Because this order block is inside that fresh 15-minute gap. It very well could come right here into this order block somewhere, and then that's where it takes off from. There's a lot of scenarios. The only thing that's going to remove me from thinking it's going to continue long is if this just has major displacement all the way down through all this with like a lot of speed. Other than that, I'm still thinking we're going to continue long. All right, so we're watching here. There's not displacement down yet, but it's creeping down. It's creeping down a little bit. It wicked in the lower half here. This is where I'm saying it could just like kind of creep down and never displace and hit this area. And then that's where we see it go up. Especially with all this up here that's creating. And also, if it does pop down quick, I'd be very interested to see where the body closes, because it could pop down, hit this, and come right back up and body close up. And that'd be like a manipulation move. So it's hitting the 15-minute gap right now. Lots of breakout traders are going short. They're seeing us breaking out from underneath here. Stops would be right up here. Stops would be all up above these highs. So that's why, like, we want to know what retail will probably do, because retail's put in that went short here, put a stop here. Retail that's taken these lows here, putting stops up here. And now with this move down, taking this low, they're putting stops up here. But we still don't have displacement down. So we know it's hitting this 15-minute gap, could potentially hit this order block, and maybe somewhere in this area. And unless we displace down, we're looking for price to come back up and take all this out right here. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but that's kind of like what I'm anticipating until, like I said, until we just flat out just drop and displace. So now, and we don't have to have it come down here because it hit the 15-minute gap. That's all I needed to do is hit this 15-minute gap. And then I could look for displacement up through this, leaving a gap, and then that'll give our signal that we're going to run through up here. All this area. So right now, whoever went short underneath this low is saying, please, please don't hit my stop. I like to laugh at that and kind of think of those scenarios because I used to do that all the time. I was that trader. So no, don't hit my stop. It came back. It's coming back against me. Doesn't mean I don't lose anymore, but at least I don't, like, I have a good idea what's happening. If I lose, I lose. I don't feel like, why is this happening? And then sometimes if I do wonder why things are happening, man, almost every time when I go back and review it, I'm like, I missed that or that or whatever. So as you can see, like, it's purely messing with people right now. It's not displacing in any direction. It's just pulling back. All this is a pullback for us. If we look at the big picture right here, price ran up. It's just pulling back and then could continue back up. But like, people are going to get too involved in this here. I'm just looking at the big picture. We were down here. We ran up, made this high. We're making a pullback somewhere. Are we just going to hit this 15-minute? Are we going to come into this order block? Are we going to hit the middle of this gap? I don't know. We just wait. We're going to pull back somewhere, and then I'm looking for it to continue up. And I don't care about all this junk right here in the middle. No, don't hit my stop. No. And then it should go with speed, actually. Displace right up there. If that's what's going to happen. This is the time where I want to see the speed and displacement. So we didn't displace up, but we did take this little, not even minor buy side liquidity, but itty bitty. Just took out some stops there. So really, I'm waiting for the displacement through here. Through boom, boom, right here. If we displace through that, or we shoot up, then yeah, we're good. Then I'd be expecting price to really just run all the way up here. I mean, it could hit a couple roadblocks, but see, now that the body's closed in the lower portion of this, but now that we're back up in the upper half, I definitely want to see price stay above the midpoint here. And I bet you if I mark the quadrants, this is going to be the upper 2/3 or upper quarter. So I bet you if I mark that, boom, there it is. Exactly at the upper quarter. Like this stuff, you can't make it up. The body's all closed right here. And then it came back up, hit the upper quarter, and we should see it displace. If like that's what I would want to see. Just waiting for that displacement. The tricky part is that, you know, tomorrow's news afternoon price might not do anything. But here we go. Let's see if we can get some displacement. So I'd look for some displacement, a fair value gap right here, and then that would be the gap that I'd look to go long in. Here we go. Taking all those stops. Well, that's what I like to see. But I don't want this to immediately rebalance the way it is. So this is looking like it's a high resistance liquidity day as well, because this should not happen. Like and that's what I mean. When price is doing, when you can read price and say, oh, it's doing this, but certain things it's doing it shouldn't, but it's still going where you can read, then that's a high resistance liquidity day. Which you could trade it, but man, it takes some experience. And apparently it's really hard. It's just better off not to. So we took all these highs. Everybody's stopped. That was all right in there are gone. The last one remaining is this one. Right here. And I bet that's the upper quarter of that wick that we just went to. Right there. Overshot it a little bit. Body's still closed in the lower portion. I want to see body close above the midway point. I still need that displacement. So here we go here. This wick, I don't want to see it close below the midway point of that wick right here. Hitting the midway point. I don't want to see it close below that right there. I would really want to see that displacement up. See, it came right down, kissed the middle of that wick. I want to see it displace. I just don't want to, because we are creeping back up, like it could displace and just take off and not give a chance. Oh, it did. All right, now we took this last remaining piece here. And we'll see if we get this gap. So I'm not going to immediately jump in this long. I'm going to wait and see how price reacts. It hasn't came into it yet. We did take this buy side liquidity right here, but then, like I said, we have this one up here, the opening range gap, the high of the new week opening gap. Then we have this buy side liquidity, and then up here's the ultimate liquidity level. If I do get in this one, my stop would have to be down below all these wicks because it shouldn't come back below those. All right, let's see. We're hitting in this gap. First, I want to see how does price react here. Because does it immediately invert it? If it immediately inverts it, then we could be done going long. So now it's trading deep into this gap. I'm going to wait. Where does the body close? I'm not worried about it running away from me. Where does the body close? And then the next bar, where does that immediately open and go? See, it closed at the midpoint, a little bit below, and the next bar immediately dipped in. Now it's coming up. I'm going long. My stop needs to be down here. I'm gonna go for this buy side right up here. It should not come back down into this one though, if the price is going to remain bullish. This is an order block. So I want to make sure it stays above that. I don't want to see it come back below these wicks here. Really need that displacement up. It's just because we keep hitting these minor buy sides. I mean, ultimately, it should continue up. So if we do go up into this 15-minute gap and this opening range gap high, I'm going to move to break even just because in case we can't clear it right away. All right. Winner, winner. All right, so that was it. That was my trade for the day. I'm just hopping back on here again, this little voiceover, my live recording, just because I wanted to say that I do throw up the executions here. You'll see that on the screen here in just a second. That way you'll see my entry and my exit. And that was it.